No, I don't got my speaker yet. Oop. Hello. Hello. Alrighty, could we all quiet down, simmer down, sit down, and could we have our presidential candidates come to the front, please? Well, good afternoon, folks. Welcome to the Executive Candidate Debate. We appreciate your attendance and participation today. For those who have never been to an executive board debate, this is where you'll be able to listen to the candidates' answers to pre-made questions and questions from the floor in order to get to know the students who are running for their respective positions. To our audience, we ask that you are respectful to all candidates speaking today. We encourage you to silence your cell phones and refrain from talking over our candidates. Additionally, if there is time to take questions from the floor, we ask that you raise your hand and wait to be called on before asking your question. We thank you for your cooperation today. To our lovely candidates, you will be allotted 2 minutes to answer each question. At the 1 minute mark, you will see a volunteer hold up 3 fingers. At the 30-second mark, she will hold up 2 fingers. At the 15-second mark, she will hold up 1 finger. When your allotted time is complete, you'll be asked to finish your sentence and we'll move on to the next candidate or question. Candidates, you do not have to use your full time. Candidates and audience members, there will be, you said ask 3, right, or 2? There will be 2 pre-made questions that the candidates will answer first. After these pre-made questions are completed, we'll open the floor to questions from our audience. All questions from the floor must be made to the entire pool of candidates, or one group of candidates for each position. Questions may not be directed at one candidate. If the audience has no questions, we'll enter back into a period of 2 more pre-made questions. At this time, does anyone have any questions or points of clarification they would like to raise before the debate? Oh. We're probably just going to go down the line and back. Does anyone oppose that? Oh, yeah, don't forget to use the mics behind you. You have 3 allotted mics. You might need to trade it back and forth once you finish answering a question. Okay, so we'll start left to right, and then once with the next question, it'll be the second person who starts, and then we keep on moving down the line until you guys have all had a turn to answer a question first. Does that make sense? Do we have any further questions or concerns? Lovely. We can do a 2-minute bio first. So, seeing as this lovely introduction. What's up? Use those 2 minutes however you please. And okay. Seeing as this lovely little introduction of mine has concluded, you will all have your turn. Starting with our first presidential candidate. You have 2 minutes to provide a brief introduction.
All right, good morning, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Noah. For those of you who do know me, hello. So, as most of you know, I'm running for SGU president. I believe that my experience across campus has been very invaluable. I've worked with multiple different offices ranging from Res Life, Title IX, the library, and I've ran as the president of the soccer club. I believe that my experience in these offices helped me truly understand what the student body needs and what their concerns are. This allows me to genuinely approach them in a way that's meaningful and solve their problems and make sure that every student's needs are met and properly addressed. I'm also an all-around nice guy. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Brielle and I'm also running for SGU president. I am currently the director of PR, so right now I put out all the events and I get a lot of good insight on those, and I feel like I'd be good for this position because a lot of the events that I put out, we have really low attendance rates for them. So if we really look deeper into what students are willing to see, then we'll have greater attendance. So, yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm seeing a lot of familiar faces. For those who don't know me, I'm Grayson Weddle. I'm the current student government treasurer. I've been serving within this role for the past academic year. Previously, I served under Logan Self, our previous treasurer, as vice treasurer. I've gained a lot of experience working within student government, about student government, and how it functions. As a third-year student, I have a lot of experience on this campus in general. I tutor in the Learning Center, and that's allowed me to meet a lot of students that I wouldn't meet otherwise. I'm running for president, and I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Priscilla Novak. I am a graduate student here at SUNY Poly. I am a CS major working down the software engineering tract, and I've had experience working on campus through both CFB at first and then as a graduate senator for a bit before eventually ending, but now I'm running for student government president. I have also been a secretary for multiple clubs, and I've attended multiple clubs ranging from major-based to social-based to academic-based to even arts and crafts-based. And so I feel like I have a good idea of representing students as I'm involved with a lot of on-campus activities. Most of my time is spent doing on-campus activities with students. I'm also highly dedicated to my work, as when I was a senator, I was pulling more hours than I was supposed to as senator, pulling 10 to 20-hour work weeks, and I plan to do the same as president. I also plan on getting the voice of every single student on campus to be represented and heard, even if it goes against my own personal beliefs or stuff I don't agree with. And then, finally, I just hope that everyone here, no matter who you pick, you keep mind of everything you hear today. That's all.
Well, thank you all. We're going to be moving on to our first question, starting with our second candidate in the line. How do you believe your skills, experiences, and personal qualities have prepared you to make challenging decisions as the prospective president of the student government at Utica, particularly when it comes to sensitive matters such as employment, disciplinary actions, and finances, which may involve your friends, peers, and classmates?
So I feel like I have a very versatile personality. I can be your friend, and we can, go have fun. But then when it comes time down to business, it's time to get things done.
That's a great question. In terms of experience, I think I can very easily lean on having been student government treasurer currently and for the past academic year. Having previously served as treasurer, that required me to be chair of budget committee. In terms of finances, I oversaw every single purchase request, every single purchase that was made by the student government at Utica this past year, I know about. I reviewed it and I approved it. With regards to making tough decisions happen all the time. Referring back to Budget Committee, we just had the very tough challenge, as many of our org representatives would be aware of paring down a $583,000 budget into a little less than $540,000. It's very challenging to take that amount of money away from any student group. It's very challenging to say no to students when they have something they want to do. But we do have policies in place, we do have rules in place, and we need to follow these rules. Having had experience enacting those rules and ensuring that they are followed has given me experience that I believe would make me very well qualified for serving in the role as president. Thank you.
So when it comes to situations, when it comes to things such as disciplining or going against friends or going to interest of people I enjoy the presence of or who know me, I am one of those people where I do like doing stuff that helps my friends, but I will not sacrifice my integrity or what's good for the best of people or what the majority of people want just to meet the interest of the few. I have in the past gone against what my friends wanted for something just because it's not what the majority wanted. And in the past, I've even done disciplining action. my friends. One example of this was when I was CFB secretary. There was an event hosted by the Game Design Club called an Art Jam, in which it was a thing where a contest where people put in art, and that art was then judged by students. One of my friends who was putting in art said they were going to get their friends to all go into the rink and vote for them, even if they were not involved in the club or in the club normally. This to me seemed wrong, even though they were my friends. So I then reported this information to the club president, even though it did harm their chances of actually winning the prize because they were attempting to rig it. I believe this shows, to me at least, how I am willing to be impartial and to go against anything if I seem it's wrong or if it seems like not what the majority of people want. Along with this, in the past, I have done a lot of things that have made people who liked me no longer like me because I was either going with what students actually wanted or going against the majority. This even at one point led to a 2.5-page document being written of slights against me by the SGU vice president due to the fact that's how many people I ended up angering because I was not going with the grain.
Could you repeat the question so I could address every part of it properly?
Just give me a moment. I'll say it slower if you'd like. How do you believe your skills, experience, and personal qualities have prepared you to make challenging decisions as the prospective president of student government at Utica, particularly when it comes to sensitive matters such as employment, disciplinary actions, and finances, which may involve your friends, peers, and classmates?
So, funny story actually. When I was an RA and I heard that one of my friends was going to be one of my residents, initially I thought, oh, this is going to be great. It's going to be nice. Like, I have one of my friends as my resident. It's going to make things so much easier. But over time, you realize that when you're in a certain position like this, it makes it very difficult to deal with your friends because they have this certain expectations that you're going to give them extra privileges. Like, oh, they're your friends. I'm going to let you do this because you're my friend, right? But over time, you need to realize that you need to set that barrier of, like, I'm still your RA, you're my friend, but I have to set my rules and, like, this is not allowed, this is allowed, you can do this, you're my friend, we can be friends outside of this, but inside of anything else, we have to follow the rules just like everybody else. You all have to be equals in terms of everything that involves your work. Thank you.
Alrighty, thank you all for those answers. We're going to be moving on to our second pre-prepared question, starting with our third candidate. Overseeing a diverse group involves managing challenges, potential miscommunications, and other issues. How do you believe your leadership skills and communication strategies have equipped you to effectively address and resolve these issues while ensuring the smooth functioning of the organization?
Communication is always challenging. I've had dozens of situations where, punctuation, right? The improper punctuation can communicate the wrong tone, can give the wrong idea. If you forget to send an email, you forget to let someone know about something you think they already know about, it can ruin a relationship, right? Communication is very important, and I pride myself on being very communicative. I try and form very positive working relationships with most of the people that I have to or want to interact with by having regular conversation, sit-down communication, along with, of course, email, texting, everything else that's available, really ensures that there is a lack of miscommunication. The more communication, generally speaking, the better. Quality certainly matters, but quantity is very important. Having had experience with needing to find scheduling times for diverse groups of people with very different working schedules, it's a challenge, but it can be overcome. The trick is to be clear, to be concise, and to indicate exactly what you're looking for, why you're looking for it, and doing so in a respectful way. Thank you.
Can I have the question repeated quickly? Say.
Overseeing a diverse group involves managing challenges, potential miscommunications, and other issues. How do you believe your leadership skills and communication strategies have equipped you to effectively address and resolve these issues while ensuring the smooth functioning of the organization?
So, communication is definitely one of the hardest parts of running any type of organization, And as somebody who's led multiple things which have had to rely on communication and have had multiple things end due to miscommunication, I believe I have skills that I've gotten over time of how to deal with this. One of the big things I know of how to deal with this, at least when it comes to miscommunication, is talking to individuals, maybe one-on-one, maybe together, to try and clear up miscommunications. If someone, say, for example, sends out an email that has the wrong tone, then talking to those people and maybe trying to getting to the person who maybe got offended by the email or something, and getting them to talk together, clear up the miscommunication, I believe, is a good way of solving that, because what it ends up doing, it ends up getting, putting in that human element, but also that face-to-face element that allows communication. Along with this, I plan on, when it comes to meeting times, trying to create times that work for the best people. Of course, it's not always possible. As someone who has run, for example, multiple Dungeons and Dragons groups in which we've had no times that work together, sometimes you're met with the hard decision of you have to pick a time that doesn't work for one person but works for everyone else. Or maybe that's inconvenient for you but works for everyone else. And if I have to, will end up doing that if that's the only thing that works, even if it ends up being bad for me or I have to reschedule something that I find fun. If I have to stop going to a club because it's the only time exec meetings work, I'm going to do that. Along with this, when it comes to making sure of getting a diverse group, I'm going to try my best to make sure everyone's opinions and perspectives are valued and accounted for when it comes to making decisions.
So when it comes down to communication, I believe it all comes down to having genuine connection. You can set up a bunch of policies, like you have to send a certain amount of emails a day, you have a newsletter, you have one-on-ones, but at the end of the day, if you generally don't communicate properly on a face-to-face basis, in terms of having a proper conversation, like what I believe Dr. Mark Montgomery is doing right now, he's generally going around with the student body and generally talking to people, so that when you approach him, you generally feel like, oh, he's gonna have a nice conversation with me. If, for example, I go up to, for example, Bailey, and I talk to her, and I ask her oh, Bailey, how do I do this? And then she says, oh, you're supposed to know how to do that already. So, and then in the future, I'll not want to talk to Bailey anymore, and I'll just resort to sending bad emails and just sending short emails and trying to avoid my one-to-ones with her or whatnot. So I believe that all these strategies, having Discord group, Telegram, emails, newsletter, one-to-ones, all of these are amazing. But at the end of the day, none of these matter if you don't have genuine conversations with the people. You have genuine talks. You genuinely have conversations where you're comfortable talking to each other. And once you bridge that gap of being comfortable to be confrontational with them, being comfortable to address the issues, being comfortable with having a genuine conversation, and I believe that that would solve majority of the problems of communication. Thank you.
When it comes to communication, I have no problems going up to anyone to talk to you about anything. And that's one of the most important qualities of being president, because if you can't talk to anyone, then nothing is going to get done. It doesn't matter if it's your friend, your coworker, or one of your higher ups. It's very important for you to be able to explain your opinions or what the student body wants. So emails and Telegram and all that other stuff that you communicate, or social media, if your message isn't getting across properly, it is not going to work at all. So you have to go around and talk to people and make what you want seen and heard.
Questions from the floor. Now is your time. You may come up.
Hi, everybody. Can you please detail / outline your previous experience in student government and how it has prepared you for this role?
So, one of my first experiences with student government was working as the PR and marketing person for the club funding board. That prepared me when it came to answering emails and being able to check my emails. While the current CFP chair at the time did not really allow me to look at emails or respond to them, I still made sure to look at the emails and kind of come up with answers, or if I saw the person in person, I would answer their questions to the best of my ability, and if I did not have the answers, I would talk to one of my advisors to try and make sure I was giving accurate information. Secondly, when I was CFB secretary the following semester, that prepared me when it came to doing a lot of paperwork. When I was CFB secretary, almost all of the documents were out of date by 2 years. I had to manually go through every single document and update not only the members of each club, but updating what clubs existed and other things such as that. And I also had to do research about policy, because we were looking to update the CFB policy. That prepared me when it came to creating new policy and even researching other colleges, because that was a lot of my role. Finally, as student government's graduate senator, that prepared me when it came to talking to others. I would spend, as I mentioned before, 10 to 20 hours a week. A lot of that, yes, was just the committee meetings or the meetings when it came to talking, at the actual SGU meetings. But a lot of that also was me going around talking to students one-on-one, trying to get the problems they had or trying to inform them about stuff that they were confused about. And I believe that prepared me well to be president, because one of the big problems, positions as president, is we serve as a lifeline between student and staff. And I believe with this skill, I can use it to be able to talk to students, get those genuine problems, and then talk to the staff about those problems they have and get them hopefully fixed.
I believe that my experience on campus and my impact on campus speaks for itself. I've been an RA where you discuss with genuine issues with student body, dealing with administrators and fixing, especially dealing with when it comes to incident reports. And as a president of the soccer club, I'm used to dealing with executive boards, working with vice presidents, treasurers. Although it's not on the same scale as student government, I believe that this has prepared me to be the president of the student government. As a president of the soccer club, I also worked with the administrators in terms of booking the field and all the paperwork that needed to be dealt with. And I believe that these experiences have prepared me very much for this position. Thank you.
So I just recently began my position in SGU as director of PR. So as of right now, my job is to put out all the information about the events that are going on. So yes, a lot of people do know about these events, but how is our attendance rate? Terrible. Terrible. And my goal is to improve that, because everyone's like, oh, campus isn't fun, campus is boring. We'll come to the events. Like, the events are fun, and Erica, who's the president of Web right now, she puts on great events. I go to the events. The problem is people are not willing to leave for them. So that's what I'm looking forward to change, and yeah, good job, Erica.
I'm not sure I could do it all in 2 minutes, but I'll do my best. Student government treasurer, right? I've interfaced with every single org and well over half of the clubs. I had a meeting with a club executive just this morning about one of their purchase requests. I've had budget committee meetings with all of the organizational representatives. The aforementioned Erica could definitely explain in more depth how I've assisted Web with regards to their budgeting, their purchases, their planning, for all of that. The same comes down to esports. When esports wants to buy prizes for FragFest, I was there. I was giving recommendations. I was giving suggestions, figuring out what would fit within their budget. With regards to the staff and faculty on this campus, I've had the very fortunate opportunity to work with a lot of them quite closely with regards to student government matters. I've been able to build or at least start working relationships that I believe would suit me very well within the position of president. I've also been very fortunate to have an executive board that has really come together as a group, and that meant although my role was primarily overseeing fiduciary matters, I was involved in a lot of important decisions. When we were bringing on new senators via resolution, I was in the room in those decisions, I was in those interviews. When we were choosing directors for our cabinet, I was in those interviews, I was asking questions, I was getting to know all of these people. Throughout, though Treasurer doesn't deal primarily with policy, I was working with the club funding board on their updated policies and procedures, their new funding. I've learned so much about student government, even just in the last year. Without that experience, I would not feel comfortable in the slightest running for president. But now that I've had that experience, especially building off of what happened last year, I feel very confident running for this role and very confident that I could do a great job. Thank you.
Do we have any more audience questions? Asa.
first one's a short one. I have two, but I'm going to do the first one first. What is your understanding of the student activity fee and how it is supposed to be spent?
Starting with our first candidate in the line.
I believe that the student activities fee is a fee that helps us fund the clubs and helps us have good events on campus. So I believe that the way it should be spent is based off of how I would view it as a finance major, because I view everything as like an ROI, return on investment. If you're going to invest a certain amount of money into a project, it all really depends on how much impact or how much involvement is it going to bring. For example, if we were to spend $1,000 into something for one person, for one thing, it's going to be different to spending $1,000 into like a big event that's going to bring about almost all the campus. So it all really depends on return on investment, how much investment is that money is going to bring in terms of the impact it will bring to the campus, in terms of how much more people will be involved, and how memorable is the money going to be remembered by the students. Thank you.
The student activity fee is a very important fee. Without it, campus, we wouldn't have anything to do. It funds all of our clubs, all of our events, so without that, it's going to be declining less and less enjoyment on campus. So we need to promote this because we need like more events. Like Eric already plans a lot of them, and all the other clubs plan a lot of events. Like we have like Frag Fest and Apocalypse Week and all the other fun stuff. So if we want more of these things, we have to make sure that this is something that the student body wants. So we have to plan events that people actually want to go to, which will also improve attendance.
Can I ask our audience member to restate the question? So with regards to how it's supposed to be spent, that is actually outlined fairly clearly by SUNY. The student activity fee is, and what it can be used for, is dictated by the SUNY Board of Trustees. There is a document that was last updated, it's going on 20 years, but there's a very detailed list of what the student activities fee can and can't be spent on. We, within our financial policy, outline that a little further. The other candidates for president are correct in that it funds our clubs, it funds our events. It also funds student support. If we are looking to have support for students, right, through our offering of free legal advisement, right, through initiatives like our wellness vending machine, that is outlined and that is allowed within SUNY's policies for the student activities fee. There's a very specific set of criteria for how the student activities fee can be spent, and reducing it to just event programming is perhaps a little unwise. I would urge all of our candidates to be in full understanding of what the student activity fee is to be spent on before ever spending it. Thank you.
So I first want to point out that I will 100% admit and say that I will have a bit of a biased answer, as I am one of our less financially up there students on campus. I already struggle with being able to even afford my college, and I understand with other students in my position, the student activity fee kind of sucks, because it's still, like, even if $125 seems small, for students who are in my economic, situation, it's still a good amount of money. But to me, that's why I view it as a necessary evil. It sucks that we have to pay more money, especially for, things that we might not always be involved in, but at the same time, it funds so much good things on campus. As one of my fellow candidates said, we have guidelines of what it funds. It funds student government. It funds the legal advice. It funds the ABC Club, which helps students like me who can't afford, super good clothing, to get super good clothing for important events, such as interviews or for, the job fair. It allows for the wellness vending machine. It allows for so many good things that I would not be able to afford normally. And it helps pay for clubs and all of that. So I think the big thing to be spending student activity fee on is the stuff that students want, while also still making sure we are following the Board of Trustees and financial policy. And that we should always be thinking of that student that could just barely afford that $125 when we spend it, and we make sure we are doing what any student would want, because $125 is a lot of money.
Alrighty. Thank you to all of our presidential candidates. Unfortunately, due to time concerns, we're going to have to move on to our vice presidential candidates. So if you could please get up and leave. We thank you for your participation. And if our vice president candidates could come to the front and take a seat. Got you. For the sake of both time and to allow for more audience participation, for this moment on, we are going to be having you guys give a 2-minute bio that you can use as you please. We are going to ask one pre-made question, and we will allow for 3 audience questions. Do we have any questions from our candidates? Yes, we'll be using the same exact mode of questioning. Alrighty, beginning with our bios.
Hello, I'm Forrest Chaput. I'm a third year here. I'm dual majoring in comp sci and network security, and I'm also a senator currently on the student government. During that time, I'm working on the policy committee, I'm working on the budget committee, and I'm working on the student success and technology committees, and I'm just interested in running in for this position. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kaylee. I'm a current third year right now, and I am the current secretary right now, and I was in media last year and the year before, and that's it.
Hello everyone, my name is Yurara Malay, and I came here last semester as an international student. I am my major is civil engineering, and I'm having a minor in mathematics. I'm interested in running in this position because I have not had any previous experience in SGU, and I would like to bring a fresh perspective to it. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you to all of you. We'll be moving on to our first and only pre-made question. How do you plan to effectively advocate for the student interests and concerns through a policy lens? And what specific approaches will you use to ensure that student voices are heard and addressed within the university administration? We may begin with our second candidate in the line.
Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
I will say it slower this time.
Okay, thank you.
How do you plan to effectively advocate for student interests and concerns through a policy lens? And what specific approaches will you use to ensure that student voices are heard and addressed within the university administration?
I think that policy works a lot with other orgs and clubs, so it would be have like a good communication with orgs and clubs to change of the student body, so more people could have events and change what they want on campus. That's it.
I really like this question since I would like to say my perspective on it, my take on it. Last semester, I had seen SGU posters everywhere. I had seen that there are meetings being conducted every week, although I didn't know where they were. And to be honest, I would rather go to anyone in this campus than go right directly to SGU meetings and say my concerns. And that is, I believe, the main problem with SGU. I believe that students should feel that their voice is being heard, and they should feel that they can approach these meetings without being intimidated by them. And a lot of us say our concerns to a lot of people before coming to those meetings. I would rather say my concerns to the RAs, to the grad RAs, to the ADs. I would rather say them to my teachers or advisors before coming to the meetings, because those seem a bit intimidating. And I would like to change that, and I would like to make that connection between the students and the SGU, so the student government. I would like to make that connection directly between them, or directly the connection between these people that the students are talking to and the SGU. So that's, I believe, my my approach to it. I would like to change this thing.
Okay, so as someone who's been working on policy committee and very much so deep diving into it, I can recognize that there's definitely some issues with the policies, and especially towards community outreach as well. So starting off with working with policies specifically addressing that issue, I would like to kind of help condense down, it's already in the process currently within our current policy committee, but help continue condensing down those policies so that they're much more approachable than the 106-page document that it currently is. Along with that, for community outreach, that is a general concern on most people's mind, especially within this election, with all the things that have happened over this past year. The community and disconnect between SGU and the general student populace is probably at a pretty big high. And so going with that, I would like to push for more connectedness, as the other candidates are saying, and especially in the way of having more invitation, more publicity going out to the general student body so that they know when meetings are, so that they know what's being discussed during those meetings, and especially for the committee meetings where we are really trying to reach out to the student body, like the Student Success Committee meeting. I would like to have more general awareness that these committee meetings are happening and that they are completely open to the student body, because without the students' input, some of those committee meetings really can't function. So with that in mind, I would really like to push forward in those specific areas so that there is more connectedness, so that there is, more general focus on the student government, and that people know what's going on within the student government. Thank you.
Well, thank you all. We'll be moving on to audience questions.
So, as SGU Vice President, your job during SGU meetings would be to be a neutral coordinator of, coordinator of the meeting, and to be neutral in all things. What would you deal with a situation in which somebody is gaining traction with support of an idea that you disagree with?
I believe that this position, you have to think about everyone. You should not always think about, okay, what I'm thinking is good and what someone else is thinking is bad. We're here to say what people are thinking, to voice what people's concerns are. So we should not think of this as agreeing or disagreeing with someone. We should think it as what would be the best solution so that all of us are being included in these conversations. So it is best to have, although it is good to have agreement within the meetings, it is always the best thing to have someone that disagrees with us, so that we can think of it as from another perspective, and we can think of it, we can think of someone else's approach to it, and we can find a common solution.
Could you just repeat the question real quick? Thank you.
So, as SGU Vice President, your job is to serve as a neutral chair for the SGU Senate meetings. What would you do if a senator or someone else was getting an idea that you were against and was starting to gain traction?
So, you'd have to act as a neutral party, first of all. You're in a very high up position, you can't abuse that power. Second of all, because the SGU Vice President is very focused on internal issues and internal policy and making sure that all lines up, my first thought would be to go to the policy and make sure that A, if it falls under policy, that it's already covered, and then B, if it doesn't fall on policy, whether this needs to be brought up and looked at and see if it actually needs to be part of policy. Along with that, if it is an idea that generally people support, we've had instances where those generally support ideas still aren't good ideas for the general SGU, such as some, say, just a very popular but dumb idea that a lot of people would sign off on, but necessarily isn't professional or isn't good, that probably shouldn't be brought up, and that probably shouldn't be implemented into the student government. So it'd be more looking at it as this is a job, we are being paid for this, so we need to uphold the highest level of professionalism, and even if people do not agree with that, that's too bad because we sign contracts saying that we need to uphold that. Along with that, even if I do not agree with the issue, if it is if this is what the student body wants and it maintains all the level of professionality and it follows policy, then I have really no reason to step in the way and try and stop that. It's going to be voted on anyways, and I have no reason to stop that from happening. Thank you.
So as vice president, you stay neutral. If something gains traction, I don't think you should shut it down immediately until like it gets bigger or it goes against the whole policy idea. And I don't, obviously you're not supposed to have opinions, so as VP you wouldn't have opinions and not shut it down. So that's it.
Thank you. It is time for our next audience question.
So, how will you work with administration to ensure commuter students' academic and wellness needs are being met, especially when they may feel disconnected?
Starting with our first candidate.
So for the first part of answering this question with working with faculty and the members who are in part of that, my first job, I personally for myself, when getting into this position, would be getting these contacts so that I know who to go to when these sort of issues arise. Along with that, currently looking at what the general lay of the land is for these issues. If there is current very pressing problems within the for commuters and such of those, then I would first address those very overarching problems and see what I could do to fix those. I would at the very least lay groundwork so that future people after me can continue working on with what I have. Thank you.
Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
Yeah, so how will you work with administration to ensure commuter students' academic and wellness needs are being met, especially when they may feel disconnected?
Well, you could work with faculty at first and set up meetings and communicate those issues at hand and make sure everyone has what they need and all.
Well, I would say that the key verb in this position is communication. So we have to communicate with the faculty, we have to communicate with the students, we have to know what the needs are and what we can do to make these problems heard and make solutions for these problems. During one of my internships in a municipality, I learned that we often provide solutions as to what people might want. We often create these ideas as to, okay, people must want this, but do people actually want them? What are people actually saying? Who are they referring to? Who are they projecting these problems that they have to? And so the main solution I would say is, I circle back to my first sentence, is that we communicate. We talk to the students, we talk to who the students are talking to, and that way we can truly learn and truly know what solutions to provide.
Third and final audience question.
Hi. A big part of being VP is overseeing the organizations. How will your experience working with the orgs serve you in this role?
Our second candidate.
Well, I had experience working in an org, Wildcat Media, 2 years ago. So I've had experience of being an org member and knowing what the orgs need, and that org specifically. But I know that there should be a lot of communication with the VP and the org in general. So, yeah.
Although this is my first year in this in this campus, up till now, I've just been involved in the activities here and also at my work at the library. But I would say that most of my work has been before coming to this campus. My connections to the organizations have been valuable to me in different ways, because I've been involved in organizations that are in different fields, and so learning how different organizations work, I have been able to provide insight of how to think in their perspective, like how to think like them, and how to make sure that we represent a lot of people. We do not only represent, for example, me as an international student, I would represent other international students. That is not the point. The point is to represent a lot of people, or not represent, mostly like make sure that everyone's voice is heard, not only what our point of view is, but also what other people might think, people who disagree with us.
I've started with SGU this year, so interaction with the orgs has, besides going to events, I haven't really known you until this year. That being said, having worked with you, going to committee meetings and seeing you at Senate meetings, I have a general feel for what you do, and I know that for a fact that you are the general connection that students have to SGU. So going from there, I would like to work with the org members, and during our scheduled meetings, talk more on how we could get more outreach and what we can do to really connect with the student body more. Along with that, just working in general with my past, with working with the student government at high school and working in scouting, I know how to work with general committees. I know how to work with people and organizations. This will not be my first rodeo. So from there, I really do want to push a good connectedness with the orgs and see what I can do to really get that community outreach. Thank you.
Well, thank you all. I'm going to have to ask you all to take a seat as we begin the questioning period for our secretary. Could our secretary candidates please come to the front? Is that everyone? In the interest of time, we will be now, henceforth, only be doing audience questions. There will be no pre-made questions, and we will only be doing 2 audience questions. However, you will still have a 2-minute period in the beginning to give a brief introduction and bio. Do we have any questions? Thank you. We will begin with the bio, starting with our first candidate in the line.
Hello. I'm Declan Maney. I'm an IMGD major, applying for SGU secretary. I have some experience bookkeeping and making sure that things run smoothly in the background, as I imagine secretaries are meant to, do. I am here to try and get more involved in the more involved with the administrations on campus. Make sure people are heard. I was told that, I'm here on mostly on behalf of a lot of the clubs on campus, because I've heard that there were some, I wanted to make sure that their voices were heard, and a lot of the student body was heard. That is all. Thank you.
Our second candidate in the line.
Hello, everyone. I'm Christopher Mavros. I'm running for SGU Secretary. For a brief overview, I'm a current senior graduating this semester with my undergraduate. I'm coming back this fall for my graduate program in data science and analytics. Currently, I'm a center serving within SGU. Additionally to being a student here on campus, I'm also a transfer student. Even though I did start here originally, I transferred out. I went to SUNY Farmingdale and also Stony Brook University, and I then came back here this past fall. Originally, I wasn't going to come back into SGU and going to focus on my academics and get my degree, but seeing how SGU was, it seemed that there was a bit of a need for someone with a bit more experience to kind of help get some of the issues resolved this past semester. So I came back and assisted the administration and everyone that needed some help in certain areas. And with that, I kind of wanted to take a step further into and run into the executive board and further SGU to be the organization that is for students that it should be. Thank you.
Beginning with an audience question.
So the Secretary's responsibilities include the minutes and agenda of the weekly Senate meetings. How will you make those minutes/agendas more accessible to the student body, as people have a problem not knowing what's going on in these SGU meetings?
All right, starting with our second candidate in the line.
So that is always a question that always comes up quite frequently, I feel like. Currently in policy committee, that is currently being reviewed, as there's a bill going around some of you guys may have heard about utilizing the projector in the meetings. That has been a question of why don't we use that, and currently there is effort to get that utilized so that during the meetings you have a view of it. One thing I also like to kind of bring back is paper copies, because several years ago we did use paper copies, but in an effort to save the trees, we got rid of paper copies, and now there's only 2 copies are available to audience members who decide to show up. So one way to possibly get more involved within the meetings and make the minutes agenda more accessible is by having more paper copies that's just open about. Additionally, by also making them more clearly available online, because they are currently engaged, but also make them more visible. Thank you.
So I believe that the SGU meetings are all recorded and put on the website where under the SGU. As for making sure the minutes and timetable is all recorded, obviously getting those out to all of the necessary members is an important part of being a secretary. Making sure that all of the people in the meeting understand what is going on in the meeting. So obviously having to send that all out is an important job, whether it be by email, whether it be by using paper copies, handing them out in SGU meetings, or just utilizing the projector, as one of the other candidate has said. So thank you.
We have time for another question from the audience.
So, while the main function of the secretary is to serve as the clerical officer of student government, as a student government executive, you are part of the executive board. You are looked up to by the other members of student government and by the student body as a whole. You are also often a factor in important decisions made by the student government executive board. How has your prior experience in student government prepared you for these responsibilities? Thank you.
So, I will start out by saying that I do not have too much experience with SGU. I am still going to be a junior going in my next year. But I am very looking forward to trying to be more part of the student body. I was trying to be a vice president of a club that unfortunately dissolved before it can get started. I was interested in several positions of other organizations that unfortunately I could not get into in time. And I have past prior experience making sure that even if I do not understand how something works, I am always willing to put in the effort to try and understand it. This is not something I have a great experience with. I will admit that, but I am interested in trying to help with help the e-board members, help make sure things run smoothly, and make sure that the student government can run. Thank you.
So my past experience has been in SGU for a while now. This is my 4th semester, technically, as a senator, and I was recently elected as pro temp. Additionally, outside of SGU, I have been in part of several different volunteer groups, such as back home, I volunteer EMS. and also I volunteer at a local animal shelter too. So I have a diverse set of experiences that I've been through that helps me kind of refine my leadership skills. Within SGU, currently I am the chair of 2 different committees, one being the class gift, and the other being safety and facilities, which is also working on special projects in order to get more resources available for trainings related to safety on campus as well.
All right. That is all for our secretary candidates. Thank you all for your time. You may take a seat. And can our candidates for Chief Justice please come take a seat? Okay. So we're going to start with our 2-minute bio, starting with our first candidate in the line.
Hi everyone, my name is Sam. I'm a first year here. I am a senator in student government right now. I am in a couple committees that I do work in, and my major is civil engineering technology.
Hello, my name is Summer Wu, and I'm a first-year commuter student studying communications and media design, minoring in criminal justice. And I would like to give you some of my high school experience because this is my first year. I was president of National Honor Society, treasurer for our drama club, executive producer for our Good Morning Proctor show, and I was a district attorney intern for the 2024 spring semester with the Oneida County District Attorney's Office. Currently, right now, I'm the secretary of the Christian Club, and I also am a first-year senator on the Policy and Safety and Facilities Committees. Thank you.
Thank you both. We will begin with an audience question.
So for Chief Justice, obviously you have to remain unbiased. How can you guarantee that you will remain unbiased, even if it is someone close to you, such as a friend who is potentially the reason for speculation? Thank you.
Our second candidate in the line.
What you have to do is you have to make sure that you know the Constitution, you know the law, you know the policies and procedures, and then you also have to talk to people. Talk to other people about why your decision is going to be the way it is. Make sure you retain accountability with other people, and that you should also tell people what way your decision is going to sway, and why that follows the Constitution, why that follows the policies and procedures. And just that communication, that transparency, you have to be committed to the role. And this is a job. We are being paid. And you have to make sure that you are professional, that you are acting like it's a job, and that not that you are acting like you are just floating around. I don't know.
I want to say that I'm very open-minded when it comes to things, so I'm not really the type of person that will get upset if someone disagrees with me or I see different sides. I can see like both sides when people come with different type of problems. So I can stay neutral because I know everyone has like different point of views when it comes to things. So I just believe that I'll be just a very like neutral party when it comes to certain things.
Our next audience question. Do we have any further audience questions?
What is your understanding of the Chief Justice position?
My understanding of the Chief Justice position is that the Chief Justice is the person that kind of makes sure everyone is following the protocols and procedures and making sure everyone is on top of their work and making sure that no one is like abusing their power in a way.
Similar to our regular government, the judicial officer is a check and a balance to the president, to the vice president, to the committees who are writing the policy and writing the procedures. And You have to review things. Specifically, Chief Justice is mentioned 8 times in the petition article, and petitions are really important because they're the students' will, the students' desires for our campus, and you have to make sure that those are valid, that those petitions are truthful, so that you can understand how you are supposed to go forward with policy, with procedures, with bills and resolutions.
That was the second one. Well, thank you to both of our Chief Justice candidates. You may take a seat. You have big shoes to fill. No, I'm kidding. Good luck to both of you. And can we please have our College Council representative candidates come to the front and take a seat? Once again, we'll be beginning this with a 2-minute bio and then continuing it with 2 audience questions. We will be alternating between you. You will take turns speaking first to answer the questions and give your bio. Do we have any questions? Okay, moving on to our 2-minute bio, beginning with the first candidate.
So my name is John Bartel. I am the current College Council student representative. I'm rerunning. I'm going into my graduate year in computer science. One thing I hear a lot in this debate is a lot of I am. But what I want to talk about is what I do, because I think what you do is most important. So what I have done recently, I sat on an ad hoc committee which addressed the plans to renovate the C-Wing in Kinsella. I brought up concerns about international students. Mostly, they wanted to do more 8 a.m. classes for registration. We have international students living in Utica. They take the bus. The bus is like a 5:40 a.m. bus. I brought that to the table. I helped save probably a lot of international students. So that's what I have done. I transferred for this college. Something else I did is I started a club, a computer science and cybersecurity club. And through this club, I was able to work with Amazon and IBM. I secured a grant to build a cyber range for our students. And now at that college, if you go there, they have a whole program, and students are getting internships right from their associate's degree.
My name is Saba Haji. I'm a mechanical engineering technology major here. I transferred in from MVCC, and I was very immersed in various leadership roles, but I must begin with that I'm a refugee, and I know that having a seat at a table where people that look like me isn't something you get to see very often. So being in places where you need your concerns and experiences voice is really what matters to me. And at SUNY Poly, I'm engaged in the Women in Engineering Club as vice president, and I'm also a committee member for the Advanced Manufacturing. And it's really to help influence more STEM representation for people of color, because I don't get to see it a lot in our classrooms and the general student body. And I just want to uphold more diverse values and representation overall. Thank you.
Well, thank you both. We'll be moving on to our first audience question. Do we have any questions from the audience?
So as the representative of the student body, how do you believe you can best do this job? Thank you.
The best way to do the job is to know your student population, and I think knowing someone, you actively have to get to know them, communicate with them, see what their interests are, what their values are, what type of cultural experiences get to play within who they are as a person. And then when you're sitting at the tables, you have to remember the people you're representing, what values they want, and what experiences they really want to have on campus. And being the person that they can approach and have true understanding with is very important. And I want to bring about something that people can approach with, but also bring about concerns that are really meaningful and impactful to people in leadership, and really bring that out, because I know students are the key performance indicators for this campus body. And as a person who's experienced both leadership and a position where I just got to interact with different activities, I just want to make sure that both levels are being seen and heard in the right place.
I think the answer is very simple. You have multiple points of contact. We have a multicultural center here on campus. We have a DEIB, a little organization going on. By having multiple points of contact, you can hear out multiple students' opinions, and that's kind of what I'm doing right now. As the College Council student representative, you do have a lot of opportunities to voice student concerns. And by taking multiple students' concerns, by just being vocal and then talking to all these points of context, then you will be able to accurately represent the student body and then be able to say what they need and what they want done on campus.
Thank you. For our next audience question.
So I just want to say, sorry if this question's kind of already a tiny bit been answered, but as one of our international students here on campus, how do you, as a representative of the student body, seek to represent the broad identity and cultural values that we international students have, especially when some of our cultural values cannot contradict each other or are not compatible with each other?
We have resources for that on campus. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm not an international student. I'm Puerto Rican, right? I do understand. I see a lot of multiple cultures here on campus, and we're very accepting into these cultures. To be able to hear them out, again, you talk to them. You talk to every single student group. A lot of students, they like to meet with each other. They're friends, and you simply just talk to them. You hear out their concerns, and you just bring it to the table. And I think that's very simple.
Great question, bringing up the international student population. While I'm not an international student, I am a refugee, and I think something that stands out to me in any campus environment is feeling seen and represented. And as an international student population, you want to go to someone who can voice your concerns at the right table, and just knowing that you're being recognized on the campus is important. And I also just value recognizing resources and bringing them about to people I know and other people, because sometimes people don't really know where to navigate or who to contact, and being engaged in campus resources and clubs really helps me align with the organization and target populations like international students.
Well, thank you. That concludes our questioning period, and I also believe that concludes our debate. So thank you all very much for attending. We appreciate how many people are here, all the audience participation, and we look forward to and wish you all luck in your various campaigns and future endeavors.